I have discovered a new way in which we can edit music files for RE Engine games, and this tutorial is specifically going to be related to DMC5. This way is definitely going to be a lot easier than hex editing, that is for sure. It is a lot more readable to humans than a bunch of values and numbers within a 16-bit hexadecimal range. Okay, so to get started here, you're going to need a few different programs. You're going to need a program called WEMs, however the fuck you want to say it. It's free. You're just going to need it for the actual application itself, and just to make a quick throwaway project. I'm not going to be going through that process in here. It's pretty easy to just open up the program, make a new project, save it, and then close the program. You're going to need Ringing Bloom. This is so that way you can convert whatever audio file you want to put into the game as a WEM, W-E-M, which is the file that the game will read. You're going to need a program called Fusion Tools, and this is going to be the program that we're going to use to replace the WEM. You're going to need a program called NOTEPAD++. This is going to be to edit the information that will control the length of the song and where and when it loops. And then you are going to need, obviously, a copy of DMC5 or whatever RE Engine game you want to do. I'm doing DMC5. And the DLC in the case of DMC5. So this is going to cover static music, so ones that aren't dynamic, ones that don't change the better that you do in the game. So let's hop right into it. So to start us off, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to locate your DMC5 DLC. And so the DLC is stored in all of these like numbered folders right here. And the DMC2 DLC specifically is stored in this folder. I'm going to flash up on the screen, and I'm going to put in the description labels for where the different DLC music is stored in the Steam folder. But since we're going to be doing DMC2, because I'm pretty sure no one gives a shit about the music for DMC2, I'm just going to open it up and you'll see a pack file, and that's not going to be a problem for us. If you've extracted the files before, then you should know this process. Just drag this over to extractpack.bat with the DMC5 pack names and edited the pack to like look for the DMC5 pack names. And then it extracted all of the files, so we are all good to go. So with that all extracted, what you're going to want to do is you want to go to REDLC, Natives 64, Sound, WEMs, and you'll see these. I have 4 in here just because I was messing with those, but you'll only see set 2 in your case. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this to a different folder wherein I have my music stored, and, you know, just like a folder where we can work on the mods. And I'm going to copy over the BNK file. And then I'm going to go back out to 64 Streaming, Sound, WEMs, and I'm going to drag the PCK file, I'm going to copy it from here to here. And so you want the streaming one because the streaming file actually contains the music. So next what I want to do is I'm going to go to wherever I extracted Fusion Tools. So I'm going to open it, and you'll be greeted with a folder that looks like this. I'm going to set the VGM stream path because this is what we're going to be using to export the music within the PCK. This step is optional, but I use it personally to match the volume of the audio I'm replacing with the audio that is already in the game. So I put that for me in Fusion Tools, VGM stream, test.exe, and then we're just going to open up the WEMs editor. And then we are going to open File. And here's where things are going to be a little different. So what you want to do is you want to actually remove the .3.x64 here and make it just a regular PCK. And it says this could break the file. It won't break the file. Don't worry about it. So just do that to the PCK and the BNK. And then if we go to wherever we have those files copied to, in my case I have it in my whips and tutorial folder song, you can open it and you can see the WEMs here. And I'm going to choose just this first WEM at the top. I believe it is Shoot the Works. Let me double check. It is Fire Away, actually. Okay, so I'm going to replace Fire Away here. That one is 34 seconds long. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this WEM to WAV. I'm going to save it here. Export with name. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to export the WEM for this one, and this one. Alrighty, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy over these IDs over onto the correct WEM. So this one is imported WEM0, so I'm going to press F2 to rename it, paste that over, press enter, and do the same for the rest of these WEMs. And so the reason why we're doing this is because instead of putting the music in the PCK, we're going to put it in the BNK. So it has to have the same ID in order for the BNK to properly read it. There we go. And then we're going to actually go into the PCK and give these random names that the game won't call upon. So I just did 2323, 2424, 2525. You can be cheeky and do it whatever you want. You can do 420, 420, you can do 69, 69. Just whatever works for you. The game won't read it as long as it's just a random string of numbers. And so we're pretty much actually done with the PCK for now, but don't close out of this yet. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm actually going to go into Audacity, and I'm going to take the audio that I want to replace and the audio that's from the game, and I'm going to try and match up the volume of the audio, because more than likely the audio that you want to put into the game is going to actually be louder than the audio that's actually like in the game. Alrighty, so in Audacity, this right here is the DMC2 track, these two up here. And the reason why they're in two separate tracks is because those two separate tracks are actually the stereo tracks, so it's going to be the left and right stereo channel. And this is the track that I'm going to replace, and as you can see, it is much, much, much longer than the actual track here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to cut out this silence towards the end, so that way there's as little silence as possible in the game, and I suggest that pretty much anyone do this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the track, go to Effect, Amplify, and I usually do it at around 14 to 17, so let's see how 17 looks. 17 looks a little too quiet, so let me undo that real quick. Let me go to Amplify, and let's try 14. 14 looks great. This looks about close to the amplitude of the DMC2 tracks. And then I'm just going to name the track 1, so that way I know that's track 1. I'm going to press Ctrl D with it selected, and rename the track to 2. And so now we have our nice little stereo tracks here, and I'm just going to delete these two tracks from DMC2, and I am going to export this as a wave, and I'm actually going to export it with the same name that this has. I'm just going to call it that. Yes, and just going to export, okay. And there we go. We are actually not done in Audacity. I like to keep this up for reference reasons. You will see why in a bit. Okay, so now with our track all exported and ready to go, you're actually going to want to open up Ringing Bloom now. And you're going to want to set the mode to be whatever game that you want to do. So in my case, it's going to be RE2R and DMC5. And you're going to want to go to WEM Creator. And then here, you need to set the WWise path, the WWise path. So for me, I have it installed in the default location. So Program Files, Audio Kinetic, WWise, Authoring, 64, Release, Bin. And this is important here. Do not choose WWise EXE. Choose WWise CLI, that's the command line. And that's what this program uses in order to convert the wave to the WEM. And you're going to want to set the path of the project that you made and then just saved and closed out of in WWise. So that's going to be in your Documents folder, WWise Projects, and I named it Template. You can name it whatever the fuck you want to. And template.wproj. And you're going to want to set the export path, so I'm just going to set it to be in the folder that I have all of this stuff in. So it's going to be Teo tutorial song. Save here, and you're going to want to choose a wave, and in my case it's going to be this imported WEM, and just click create WEMs and give it a few seconds and it should make the WEM for you. And there we go, the WEM is already all created. I didn't even have to wait all that long. And so you'll see it'll create a new folder called Windows, and then you can see there's the WEM right there. And I'm actually going to take the WEM and I'm going to rename it to the 62179196. That's the WEM ID. And then I'm going to paste that, cut it, and then I am going to actually replace the WEM that was in there. Alrighty, so now we're going to go back to Fusion Tools, and we are just going to right-click this top WEM. We're going to choose Load HIRC, and so it's going to ask you for the BNK file. So if I just select that, this BNK doesn't contain any WEMs. That's normal. And then you're going to want to click BNK, and it's this, and you're going to right-click Edit BNK, And so now we have this completely empty BNK. So we're going to want to go and import files. So we're going to start with this first WEM, and then we're going to go into the next WEM that we exported, and then we're going to go into this WEM that we exported. And now we are pretty much all good to go in terms of this BNK, but we have to edit the loops and the length. So we're going to go to HIRC, this is what that little H stands for, and we're going to export it as an XML file. And I'm just going to call it HIRC. Had to be sure that I had it right. And there it is. It shows up nice and neat in there. And so now if you right click it, just choose edit with Notepad++, and you'll see all this stuff in here. And it looks really confusing at first, I promise. But it's a lot less confusing than hex editing. Because as you can see, there's numbers, but there's also names here. You can see what every single thing means. So we're going to start by pressing Control F. And then we're going to go into Fusion Tools, and we're going to copy this ID. This is the ID of the song that we want to edit. And so now, if we just paste that there and press Enter, we see it. And so, what we want to do is we want to change these values in the playout section to 0. This is where the song will start. And we're going to change trim offset also to 0. Then we're going to change end trim offset to 0. And then this part is the important part. This is the length of your song in milliseconds. And if you don't know how to figure out milliseconds, don't worry. It's easy fucking peasy. So if we go back into Audacity, you can see that the start and end of this selection right here is 3 minutes, 26 seconds in 2.241 seconds. And so what you want to do is you want to multiply the 3 by 60. That's going to leave us with 180, so that's 180 seconds, plus 26, that's going to be 206.241. And if we just move this decimal over all the way to the end, that leaves us with our time in milliseconds. So the time in milliseconds is 206.241. Now that's just me doing it in my head, because I just have this process pretty much fucking down pat. You can always just Google 3 minutes, 26 seconds in seconds, and then Google that in milliseconds. Honestly, I just do it in my head. And so you're going to want to just find any instance of this track ID, and you're going to want to change the playout offset to 0, and then the trim offset at 0, the end trim offset at 0, and then once again, you're going to want to change this to be that time that we just calculated, and I already forgot it. So let's see here. I'm just going to go back up, and there it is, 206.241. Find next, and there we go. And I'm going to highlight this and paste that over it. And then there's a few more things that you want to look for. So once you're sure you have everything all replaced with 206.241, you're going to want to look for duration in this file. So right here, this will be the duration of this track, if I recall correctly. Just scroll up and double check. Yep, so this is for this track. And you're going to want to replace this with that, and then replace this with that too. This is the music marker, so this marks the beginning of the track, and this marks the end of the track. Okay, and then there's one more thing you're going to want to change if you want this to fully work. If you look up automation, you should see this whole section with the name of AutomationItems. And so the one thing about this that is completely different from the other ones is that this actually tracks in seconds instead of milliseconds. So it's going to be that 206.241. That's going to be the amount of time in seconds. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to set this value to 0, this value to 0, and then you're going to want to set this value to whatever the length of your song is in seconds, minus a few milliseconds. So I'm just going to set it to 206 even. And then this last one over here, you're going to want to change this to be the exact length of your song in seconds. So in my case, that would be 206.214. That's correct, right? 241. Whoopsie. 206.241. And then you should be all good to go. So now you can save this HIRC, go back into Fusion Tools, and then click Import HIRC. and then just click the one that we just saved. And now it should properly record the length and the loop information for your song. And so now you are all good to go. So start by exporting the PCK. So I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to overwrite this, and I'm going to choose yes. And then you're going to want to do the BNK. And it's important that you do it in this order because the PCK, when you save that, it'll automatically make a new BNK, but you just want to be sure that you're overwriting the correct BNK. And next, what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to go to wherever you store your mods. So for me, I actually have a shortcut for my DMC5 mods. So I'm just going to go to mods, and I'm going to make a new folder. I'm just going to call it the tutorial, because that's the name of the song, title tutorial. And then we're going to want to go to natives. And then times 64. And then sound. And then wise, and we're going to go back out to the 64. We're going to create a streaming folder. We're going to copy over this path with nothing in it, and then we are going to go here to sound, but not into wise yet, and we're going to click the PCK and the BNKs that we have created, and we're going to actually go and rename them to their proper names. So the PCK is .3.x64. And then just change it. And then it's .2.x64 for the BNK. Yes. And then you're just going to want to copy them over into wise. And then you're also going to want to copy over the PCK into streaming. And this is important that you copy it over into streaming too. Because if you don't copy it over into streaming, then the game is not going to read the sound files from the BNK. It's going to read it from the default PCK. And you're not going to get changed music. So I'm just going to refresh my mod list, install the mod. So when you finally want to load into DMC5, you're going to want to go to the gallery, and you're going to want to be sure that you have the correct battle tracks selected. So for me, I left off on a Nero mission, so I am going to go to Fire Away. I'm going to choose Nero, and I am going to confirm. And I'm going to exit out. And then I am going to go to continue. Okay, so now once we're in the mission, and once we've changed our battle track to be the correct battle track that we're replacing, we're just gonna wanna rush into a battle, if they'll just cooperate with me. So right here, there's a battle up at the beginning of mission 2. I'm just gonna skip this cutscene. And as you can hear, the music is playing, and it's playing at a decent volume. And so I'm just gonna sit here and wait to be sure that it loops correctly. It's important that you sit and wait through the mission, well, not the mission, but the battle, just to be sure that the song is playing correctly. Alrighty, so I've been sitting here for about 3.5 minutes now, and it is definitely working because the second loop is going past 30 seconds. If the second loop is not working for you, don't worry, don't freak out. Just go through everything that you can in the HIRC, but don't go too hard, okay? Because the HIRC contains information for the other songs in the DLC pack, and if you plan on making a full song pack with 3 different songs, then that's going to be an issue. So just be sure to be a little careful and double check everything and make sure you have all the durations set correctly. I'm going to be leaving down in the description what duration markers you will need to change, but other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all you gotta do to change the music. Hex editing is dead? Question mark. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Feel free to ask me on the DMC modding Discord. I'll leave a link there too. But yeah, just thanks to everyone for watching, and I hope this tutorial is helpful to at least one person. Toodles!